Here I have a really small sample of the 2016 Monte Bello that we just blended. So we've just brought together the chosen barrels of this year's blend, where we had brought in the fruit in late September through October. So this actually was a cooler growing season on the mountain. We actually got decent rainfall for once, so not totally out of the drought, but enough to really get the vines through the summer, where we didn't receive any more rain until literally the very last day of harvest. So we saw that storm approaching at right around the 13th of October, and we got all the blocks picked. So the fruit came in, fermented, and this year it was kind of 1999 vintage, where the tannins were a little bit more work to extract. So I had to really stay in the fermenter much longer. We had to give every fermenter a lot more treatment as far as remontage, pump over to extract. Natural yeast fermentations were going pretty smooth. But really, to really flesh out the wines, we really had to go for the lengthier fermentations. And then everything got barreled down. Natural malolactics really went very well this year. Everything was complete by Thanksgiving and settled out in barrel. We pulled barrel samples at the end of January, just a couple weeks ago, and went through the big blind tasting. I had narrowed it down to just the top 24 parcels of this vintage. And of that, we chose 16 to make our first assemblage. So the composition of this wine is 64% Cab, 18% Merlot, 10 Cab Franc, 8% Petit Verdot, and it represents about 28% of the total production off the mountain. So we actually had some decent yields from all the vineyard parcels here, including Merlot. Finally, the Merlot vines really came back solid in the 2016 vintage. And definitely were very fine quality, so they really have contributed some elegance to the wine. It's extremely young, but gosh, it's got so much potential. I mean, for us to really kind of see where it fell in place with the current vintages or recent vintages, we did at the end of the assemblage tasting a nice comparative blind tasting of 2010 through 2016, where they were all randomized. We blind tasted, and the 16 really, it didn't stand out as this super young wine. It actually has, there's so much finesse to this wine. Tannins really are nicely integrated with the fruit. It really didn't seem that young at all. It really fit perfectly in with 2013, 2012. The fruit is ripe. It's beautiful in its definition, and the tannins are really quite fine and very polished. So it's going to be an exciting wine to present to all our collectors in March. This, though, is the first assemblage. You know, as we were assembling, we still have about 10 parcels of additional lots of Cab, maybe even one more Petit Verdot to consider adding. So we'll go through that tasting at the beginning of May, and at that time, really bring in the final pieces. And they'll only be added if we get improvement to this wine, which is already so fine. So, you know, it's only going to have to be even better than this if those lots are going to be added. So it's yet another great year here on Monte Bello.